Man, y'all know the face, y'all know the name. Y'all tuned into the World's List Podcast, Talk Ain't Cheap Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Mr. Samui Cleese, Real Talk. And through a crazy day, we made this happen. This is like episode 150 something. I already know by the time this comes, it's going to be like 150 something. We already did that many episodes. But I'm excited about this episode that we have with this special person. And in traditional Talk Ain't Cheap fashion, y'all know the rules by now. I do not introduce my guests. I do not introduce my guests. My guests are giants. So, guests, please introduce yourself.
All right. I'll keep it brief for now. But what's going on, everybody? My name is Jerlisa Fontaine. But as anybody who knows me knows, I always say to know me is to know that nobody ever calls me Jerlisa. My first name might as well be Juju. So if you ever see me here outside or at an event or whatever the case is, what's my name? It's Juju.
Juju.
I'm a proud founder of a wonderful tech startup. It's called Hugh Capital. Hugh Capital is an AI-powered professional social network. We basically focus on building an AI engine called Huey that makes connections amongst builders, creators, budding entrepreneurs, multi-hyphenate professionals, anybody who identifies as someone who just wants to collaborate with other people to build meaningful things.
Fire.
It can be a product, it can be an event. As long as you know you want to build, you want to create, and you want to service one another, this is the platform that you want to be on. Once upon a time, we were not a tech company. Once upon a time, we were a community. We threw networking events in New York City. We've been doing it since January of 2023. But we were very fortunate to be able to witness that in just 2 years, our events went from being a 200-person event to upwards 600 people. And we're like, oh, okay. If we can grow that fast in 2 years, throwing in-person networking events, and people are asking, well, how can they meet the same population of people online? And whenever I tell them maybe we can do it through Slack, maybe we can do it through LinkedIn, they would gag, they would throw up, they would say absolutely not. They don't like any of those places. So if they don't like any existing spaces online to build community and to experience community, the right answer probably is I should build it.
What does community look like to you?
Honestly speaking, community to me is just being surrounded by a group of people who are not looking for something just transactional, but they're trying to find a way to do things with each other for either personal fulfillment and or professional fulfillment. But they should never want to be in a space just because they want to take. They're in a space because they also excessively want to give. That to me is what community looks like in the most fruitful manner.
I love that. So, what was the earliest sign of community or the earliest experience that you have of being a part of a community?
You know what? I will say, like, I don't know if anybody ever says this as an answer, but growing up, I grew up in like project-like environments, and one of the pluses, of being in those spaces is you have a large collection of buildings with a lot of people in it, and ultimately you end up finding out that every time you leave your house, you're gonna see a lot of the same people, and they start to feel like family. So even though they're not your mom, your dad, your auntie, or your cousin, they get accustomed to watching you grow up to the point that everybody wants to kind of be a part of your upbringing. So if your mom can't watch you in the park, somebody else can watch you in the park.
True.
You have friends who grew up in your neighborhood. You have friends who go to school with you. Sometimes you see the friends who are in your neighborhood and you guys hang out just there. Sometimes your friends at school come meet you where you're at or you meet them where they're at. But I think that being in this, I guess, space that is so highly populous has allowed me to realize that fundamentally I can find community in the very space that I reside, since there's just so many of us anyway.
I love that. I love that. And you've done so many different things, and I feel like the common theme around all these things, that which makes it kind of ironic that this is what you're doing now, has been building community. You were the first ever African American woman to be elected at Albany as the student government president. I thought that was relatively impressive.
I mean, thank you.
And I would say, like, from one giant to another giant, I'm not surprised.
Okay, thank you. I'll take it.
The reason why I say that is because I feel like your energy is infectious. You've always been somebody, ever since I met you, you've always been somebody that has been open arms and showed a lot of love. So I guess let's talk about that time in Albany for you.
Yep.
What was that period like for you, and what made you want to even pursue being a president of the student association?
No, 100%. First things first, like, shout outs to the U Albany community. And I'm talking not just the students, I'm talking students, faculty, even governmentally, I felt like I've met so many people just in Albany as a city alone that has contributed so much to my success, not even at the student level, but
Mm-hmm.
even graduating and becoming a professional. For me, to your point, you know, I'm pretty extra. Like I'm kind of outside. You know, I'm talking fun wise and professional wise. And my freshman year, I ran it up. Like I wanted everything that Albany had to offer. If it was fun, I was going to all the parties.
Mm-hmm.
I was promoting some of the
As
parties.
you should.
But on a more professional side, I just wanted to be a part of any club or organization that prided itself on contributing to culture, right? You have these Caribbean associations, you have the NAACP for people who are Black students or Latino students, and etc. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew that I wanted to be a part of a community that focused on professional goals. And at the time, I was a pre medical student. Didn't become a doctor, obviously. My actual background is in healthcare, but more on the business and tech side. Most recently, I was a product manager. But for me, I knew I wanted to be a part of some kind of pre medical society. So I joined an organization called MAPS. It was the Minority Association of Pre Medical Students, and it's under a national organization called SNMA. But being a part of those groups definitely kind of gave me that like initial phase of like, what does it mean to be a part of micro communities? Not
Mm-hmm.
just the one that you have where you live at, but the ones that you develop because of where you're trying to go in life and also how you're trying to have fun. Then lastly, and of course most importantly, is I did have a friend named Jarius. And he's 2 years and 2 grades
Shout out
above
to my
me.
bro Jarius, man.
Come on, Jarius. I'm always gonna give you the shout out. And I knew Jerry since I was like 13 years old. And when it came to me making a decision on, am I gonna go to U Albany? Am I gonna go to Plattsburgh? Am I gonna go to Syracuse? Am I gonna go to Seton Hall? These are like the four schools that I think I was juggling acceptances for. I was asking him, like, like you go to Albany, what do you think? And he was like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like not even I would benefit from the school would benefit from me. Like he was just like, I think you really absolutely belong here. And I was like, well, I trust his opinion. I got other opinions and I made that decision. And because he was already there, he invited me to be an intern through the student association. And I mentioned that because it's very important because me being there as a freshman and still being involved in other things, there were people who were seniors and they were like, yo, oh, welcome back. I'm glad to see you back here on campus. And I'm like, welcome back. This is my first year. They're like, what's your first year? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. They're like, bro, you're running around here like you run this. And the guy who was the SA president at the time, his name was Francis. Also, shout outs to
Shout out to
Francis.
Francis, that's my guy.
Come on now, Doctor
Francis.
Francis,
Dr. Francis.
psychiatrist, I think too. Yes,
Dr.
like
Francis,
he's
yeah.
Francis is that guy. And I remember him pulling me to the side or sitting me down, or maybe I came into his office and he was like, you know, you're gonna be in my seat one day, right? And I never even thought about being president of SA. I just got there. I just wanted to do marketing. I wanted to help with the events. I wanted to see what student governance had to offer me and the Albany community. And for that person who was sitting in that seat that has only been held by men, except for one woman 17 years or whatever prior, like for that person to say that to me, I was like, maybe that could be the goal. And that's what kind of gave me the, I guess, the amp to know that I could one day be SA president. But I will say, Francis saying that to me sparked the idea. I can't say it's what made me feel the need to keep going because I knew I wanted to be there. What made me feel the need to keep being an SA and then run for president was the fact that I've done so much for the student population to the point that people kind of felt like, Juju, if you don't run, who else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who else deserves this seat but you? It was kind of like they're all telling me, like, there's nobody else for this. Like, you're the person for this. And when your community chooses you for something
Mm.
that has meaningful impact, I think that you should step into it because they see you in that role for a reason.
I love that. And let's speak about community one more time because you've also been able to build a community with U Capital, with your team. And that's something I've always admired about people because I'm like a loan shark kind of person for a
Mm.
long time. So I was always curious about like how did you build your team and what do you do to keep your team motivated?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I'll answer this in parts. So how do I find my team? Yeah, the first place, I'm not gonna lie, my events. Like a lot of people who have joined the Hugh Capital team were prior event attendees.
Okay.
And, people will come up to me and say, I love what you're doing. How can I help? And I'm like, help? I'm like, well, let me tell you, because you're okay with being a loan shark. I don't want to do anything by myself.
Trust me, I'm trying to get out of that myself.
Fight it, fight it, fight it, fight it. There is too much to do when you're running a company. And if there's one thing I'm a fan of, it's delegation. I think I'm good at a lot of things. It doesn't mean that I should be the person doing all those things. So having people come up to you and really championing the work that you're doing, and I know that what I'm doing is great, but I also know that's not the final mark. There's so much more room for growth. We have a way grander vision than what we are, what we have been, and someone wanting to be a part of it at that early stage shows me, you know what? If you want to get involved at this phase, and in my mind, this is like baby steps or a baby version of what I'm trying to create, let's talk about it. And if somebody was a good fit, we got them involved. And for the most part, they always did a good job. And I think most people did a good job because they're usually a part of the infant stage of what we're building, and they know where we're trying to go, and they believe in that vision. So that's pretty much how we've attracted a lot of like people who are in our who are team members. There are also people that maybe I passively talk to at an event, and I'm listening to them explain how they do their work, how they approach their work, how passionate they are about their work, and maybe I'm the person that initiated it and said, so what do you think about getting involved? And if me and that person have a good conversation and it makes sense, sometimes I recruited them at my own events. And then the last way is pretty traditional. You put up a posting, tell people about the role, they apply, and then we vibe and they come in. So that's how I find people. Why they stay, I think people stay. I can't say for the money because our team is a mixture of like intern, volunteer, and like revenue share roles. So no one's like an hourly worker on our team because we're such a small early stage business. So I can't say it's the money. That's for sure. That's not what's keeping them. But I think what does make people want to stay is number one, we never move backwards. So I feel like because our team is seeing that all the effort that we put in is always allowing us to excel and grow as a business, I think it gives them more confidence in the vision because they can see that we have created a North Star, we have created a strategy, we have created a process that we are hoping and working towards actually being the thing that gets us there. And as they see it work, I think that makes them feel like, okay, we have strong leadership, we're going somewhere. Number two, because we don't get to do contract and hourly wages, that also means that I should be investing in people who are working with us. So that may look like doing career coaching. That might mean like me giving them mentorship and advisement on how they're going to grow their own businesses. Most people who work with us, they're not full time, they're part time, they have their own businesses, they have 9 to 5 jobs. So if I realize that they have other things going on in their lives and I can help mentor, guide, or connect them to opportunities, that's my value add because I still need to give something. I can't just take because in community, we should give and take. Sorry, y'all. So, yeah, that's how.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think something that I took from that is basically like having some kind of division or North Star or some kind of vision or North Star. So I guess my question for you is like, how did you develop your vision or where did your vision come from?
Oh, okay, I would say, sorry guys, I would say that my vision is actually a buildup of being a student leader. So if anybody watching right now is actually a college student, we were just talking about this, me and Cletus, like, listen, when they tell you don't need college and college is not important and all that stuff, listen, ignore the noise. College is very much so helpful, whether it's because you found it helpful because the classes were helpful, or at minimum, you found it helpful because the people in the network you developed was very useful. And I feel like for me, I had so much fun. I was burnt out, I was tired, I was exhausted, but I had so much fun helping people on campus connect to either academic opportunity, job opportunity, fun opportunity. I was just always the person who was the dot connector. And I love that so much to the point that when I graduated, that was the first time where, other than a job, I had nothing to communally be involved with. And I felt empty. Like I always say this, and it sounds really bad when I say this, but I feel like I was put on earth to be used, but used for all the right reasons. Like I always tell people, listen, if you need something from me, use me, ask me. I'm here to help. That's not a problem. But that was one moment for like 2 months between May and I think mid July of me starting my first full time job. I had nothing to do. I had no purpose. And what I realized is, okay, I'm not good at being idle. I miss the passion of serving people and connecting them to things. I think it's time that I start something. And that thing wasn't Hugh Capital because that thing was back in 2018. And it was my first company called Millennium
Millennium.
Vision. And that was my way of basically working with Magic, who is the head of community of Hugh Capital now, but we've been doing this stuff since Millennium Vision days. We would basically host small events, and it would basically be casual events for a niche group of professionals. So what that means is we would have medical paint and sips. We would have educators game nights. We would do these very small events where we just wanted people to basically build friendships over professional connections with people who happen to be professionals in those spaces. And I would say if it wasn't for everything that I was doing in Albany in terms of events and community building and working with politicians and working with the higher admin of the institution, I wouldn't have felt the confidence to independently start my own business to basically do the same work, but for people who graduated. So that's where it came from.
And I think, especially like with Millennium Vision, what made it dope is the fact that you were able to cultivate such a high net worth of community.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people go into these spaces where they'll network with other people, and it's not. And I don't want this to sound offensive, but it's like they're networking down.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people now in this like professional space, they want to meet people that's either at their level or above.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you go about like cultivating that specifically?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so some of it is strategic, some of it is extremely laborious, and I don't know what's going on, but my throat is whew. So number one, once again, college is helpful because my first customers were people that I graduated with, right? Or had graduated before me but knew me just through Albany itself or the SUNY ecosystem itself. So honestly, just putting up a flyer and promoting it on the gram, and where the credibility came from was somebody would see the flyer and they would say, "Oh, Juju's throwing that. I trust it." Because this is not something that she's new to. It may be new in terms of it being her own company and not SA or another club, but this is work that she's been doing for years. I'm going to give it a try. So just posting it and people basically getting their tickets from seeing a flyer or maybe sharing it with their friends is the primary way that we were able to get those people into a room. But number two, listen, you might have to DM people. Like sometimes you better go on Instagram, you gotta go on LinkedIn, and you better start searching for the kind of people that you want to be in the rooms that you're hosting or curating, and you need to invite them. Will they all respond? No. Most of them don't respond, but a good portion of them actually do respond and they do show up. So don't ever fret individually writing people and showing your face to say, "Hey, I would like someone like yourself to come to my event," because a lot of times the people you're writing, they don't put it on their Instagram page, they don't put it on their LinkedIn page that, "Hey, I want to meet people." They may not say that there, but they do. And some of them are scared to maybe just show up places, but some people actually do appreciate to be invited into a space, even if they have to buy a ticket, right? And that has helped us a lot from Millennium Vision days, even up till now with how we do our events at Hugh Capital. But that's ultimately how we curate those spaces. The last thing I will mention is tell people you know what kind of community you're trying to build, because somebody that you're close to may not care to be at networking events or in these spaces, but if they know what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do, they will share it with their friends and their peers who they know care about this type of thing, and identify with how you would describe the people you want to be in that room. They'll do the work for you and they'll tell people to come.
Definitely. And before we skip over Millennium Vision, I don't want to, I want to make sure I give flowers to Magic.
Hell yeah, come on.
So, what role has working with Magic, or what role has Magic played, and how has she impacted, not only your journey with the companies, but just your development? Because I know that's also like your best friend.
Yep.
And like, how is that working with your best friend?
Oh yeah, for sure. So for context, Magic and I have been friends since we were 14 years old. So that makes us 15 years in the game. We live together. We've been living together since 2021. Like you mentioned, we're best friends and we work together. All things that people will probably say, "What the heck? How are y'all still friends?" But fortunately for us, it just works, right? I think that Magic and I are both people who just really care about people and bringing people together. And we're also fun. And I would like to say pretty smart and intelligent and bright women. So I feel like when you kind of put those two people together, only good things can come out of that. So Magic has been the head of events or head of community for both Millennia Vision and for U Capital. Magic has been doing this with me and somehow along the journey and basically being my lifeline when it comes to all the things that I've created since 2018. And for sure, I give Magic so much credit where I can't imagine having building any of this without her having been by my side. I think we just work really well together. I think that we are both mutually individuals that can attract a crowd, that can attract the right people to the kind of brand that we're trying to build. And I think it's just also really good knowing that like I have somebody who is naturally a very optimistic person that I'm doing this with, because anybody who's an entrepreneur can tell you, as exciting as it is to build your own thing, it's also very exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelming and it takes a lot out of you. And a lot of people can become very pessimistic in the journey of being an entrepreneur. Now, I have a very glass half full mindset. So while I'm taking the beatings from the businesses that I'm creating, I'm always focusing on the positive and what's next. And it's very important that if I'm going to have somebody attached to my hip that I'm doing this with, I would need someone who has to have a similar mindset, because there's been a point in time where I've had a teammate that was the complete opposite, where everything was pessimism. And I can't thrive in that space because as a team, we should focus on what's not working, but it doesn't mean that we have to be negative. We should take everything that was an L or almost an L and positively focus on how is that going to be a W. And I just feel like that's someone, aka Magic, who possesses those traits where it's just so easy to work with her. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I can live with someone, be best friends with them, work on a business with them, and do all these things and know that there's nothing that can like break up our friendship.
That's beautiful. How do you stay so positive? Because like I said, as an entrepreneur, I understand there's so many days where things can just go bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's days you don't want to get up out of bed. I spoke to different entrepreneurs. Sometimes they wake up in cold sweats. They can't get out the
Yep.
bathroom.
Yep.
You know, they're crying in the shower.
Yeah.
How have you been able to stay so positive? Is it like seeing the growth, or is it just the optimism that you got a goal to reach?
Yeah, I would say for me, the latter. Like I said, I take beatings. I can't say I'm much of a crier, but I'll tell you one thing for sure. Since going full time on Hugh Capital, I've cried a number of times. Like for sure. I'm like, damn. Like why is a particular thing either one not happening for me or not happening for me in a given time frame that I would like for it to. But despite the beatings, despite the occasional teardrops, to your point, nothing is more exciting than knowing that you have an end goal and you will die trying going after that goal. And it does help that we don't ever really move backwards. So, I mean, I guess that does help me feel more confident in the fact that even though things don't always progress as fast as I would like it to, we rarely ever move backwards. And that shows me that, okay, I'm constantly and consistently getting closer to that thing. So, even though it's not happening at the pace that I want, the fact that I'm still getting closer with each day, each minute, each hour, that's enough for me to know that it's okay. I can't give up on this. I should keep going after it. And I think it's also rewarding where, we built a community and they take pride in what we're building. Our community takes so much pride in us that we actually raised $26,000 from our community to build the very product that we created, right? So I think for me, what checks the negative and always keeps me positive is realizing that one, I've invested so much time and energy into this. Two, so has my team. Three, so has the very audience that has uplifted us to getting to this point. And if we're constantly moving in the right direction, there's no reason for me to think about or ponder on the negative. I should only focus on the positive.
So speak more about the product that you were able to raise 26,000 and for, and just speak more about like what the goal, the vision for the company is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So during Albany days, I actually always felt like we needed a better LinkedIn. Like, even at the student level, no one ever looked forward to being on LinkedIn. You just know that it's this tool that you need to make a profile on, and you probably should make a post on it every here and there or use it for job search. But no one ever looked at it as an actual true networking tool. And people didn't look at it like that because usually when you write people on LinkedIn, you're probably not going to get a response. And for the most part, people aren't actually ignoring you. People just don't really be on it like that. They may have a profile, they may have an account, but unless someone's actively selling or looking for a job on the platform, they're just not really on it. And there's a reason for that, right? It's kind of meant to be this very transactional thing, which I can't say is necessarily bad because every platform has its purpose, right? But if that's the brand of LinkedIn, where it's this very transactional platform to sell and get a job, who's going to build a professional space for students or professionals who just want to meet each other, who just want to learn more about each other, and something that's a little bit more casual where they don't have to feel like they need to show up as their best selves. And I knew we didn't have that in college. I was a pre-med student. I wanted to be a doctor, and I didn't feel like I was the right person to build it. So I just didn't entertain it. It was an idea. I wrote it down in my notes app in my phone, and that's all it was. But when I graduated, I noticed that I still felt like there was a need for it. But here was the problem. I wasn't a tech girl when I graduated college either. So I'm like, how do you build a tech product? I don't know. I did know engineers, but still, I didn't have a true vision for what it would really do. So I told myself this: if years go by and no one builds what I think should be a good alternative to a LinkedIn, maybe in a couple of years I might build it, but I'll only build it if I feel like I've curated a community first that can give me guidance into what that platform should actually entail. Because what people don't realize is sometimes the people that you want to serve or build a product for, they kind of have the answers for you. You just haven't taken the time to listen to them. So I'm like, okay, what better way to listen to them than at my events? So I'll walk around the room, I'll talk to people, or when they give feedback on our events, maybe they'll hint at something that says, I want to meet people online as well. Our events are pretty big at Hugh Capital, right? You're talking about 200 to 400 people. I'm happy I can say that number, and I pause, 200, 600 people. And I'm happy I can say those numbers, but I can also admit you can't meet everybody in the room. So people will come up to me and they'll say, Juju, I met like 10 to 20 dope people. Oh my God, it was lit. But I know there's other amazing people in the room. How do I find them? And like I mentioned earlier, if I said, hey, maybe I'll create an Excel sheet and it has a list of LinkedIn profiles, and maybe I can share that with you all and you can connect there. And they say no, right? It's like, well, I got to find a way to make y'all come together somehow, some way. And in product management, right? Like I said, that was my role right before going full time on Hugh Capital. We have this framework called buy versus build. Basically, when you know that your platform or whatever you're building needs an additional feature, you're usually going to ask yourself as a product manager, should we buy an existing tool or software that already solves this problem and we can just integrate it into what we already have? Or do we need to build something from scratch because nothing else makes sense for what we're trying to accomplish? And when I realized that buying into a tool to manage my online community wasn't an option because nobody favored anything, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to build it. And now, at that time, it was 2023, I felt confident being someone who can build a Hugh Capital because I've been building community since 2014 at that point, right? I'm talking about 2014 to 2023. That's like what, 9 years in the game at that point? I'm like, okay, I've been building community. I've heard what they've asked for, what they wanted. I can now say I'm a tech girl, right? I'm building products in the healthcare space, maybe not the community space, but I can take my learnings building software, chatbots, SMS, and all different kinds of tools for the healthcare space. And I can apply that skill to serving the people that I've been throwing events for all these years. That's how I knew I was the right person to build this. That's how I knew I had the right community to build it for. And that's what let me know in October of 2023 that that would be the first or the start of going full time on building something that's my dream, but hopefully fulfills my dream of actually helping people find the right people to land the opportunities they want.
So something that always, you know, scratched my mind a little bit was, why'd you drop the E in Hugh Capital?
Oh, 100%. So fun fact, I'm not gonna lie. I thought people would ask me this question more often, but they don't. But no one ever asked me like what Q Capital even stood for. So Q Capital was supposed to be a double entendre. Q Capital was supposed to mean, and actually does mean till this day, the industry of human capital. So no one ever talks about the fact that there's an actual industry called human capital, which is dedicated to helping people be their best selves, so that they can perform better. And I realized that when I think about the kinds of complaints that people have about their jobs or even the companies that they're building, they kind of feel like it's never about them, right? It's always about everyone else and everything else. But like anything, you do need to invest in yourself to make good things. And I realized I want to name our company after something that has not been championed. And that's a thing that has not been championed that I want to bring life to. So we never really say it out loud, but it really means human capital. But I say a double entendre because it also was supposed to mean diverse people who are building capital with each other. So, AKA, it was supposed to mean that people of all different shades and backgrounds are coming together and they're trying to get this money together. And those are the two things that I was trying to fulfill with that name. The only bad thing is, see, I always felt like the word hue meant like different shades or like different kinds of people.
And a lot of people thought it meant black.
They thought it meant black.
I was excited. No, I'm like, yeah,
for sure, yeah. Like, and you know what? And don't get me wrong. Don't ever get it twisted. Like, I want to cater to black people. Don't ever get it twisted. That's my thing. But I also realize that the real world is not all black, and to make something that's only black, I can't necessarily say for what I'm trying to build was the initial goal because I know that my vision is kind of bigger than that. But I did realize that the E kind of did trap me. And it even ruled out even Latinos, right? Like I wanted at minimum Black and Latino people in the room together. And we do attract the Latinx population, but I definitely realized that if someone saw that word and already had a definition for it, they didn't feel like it was a space that was welcoming for them. And that's not what I wanted. So when you talk about makeup and different hues of makeup, I had to realize in the real world, hue doesn't mean what it means in makeup in terms of what it means in like the professional space.
I'm not gonna lie, I understand exactly what you mean, but I still was so pro.
Nah, for sure. For sure.
With the E?
Nah, for sure. For
I
sure.
was like,
but it worked against me because even at this point, right? Like when I was in SA, I'm catering to people of different ages, different years, different cultural backgrounds, and I wanted to keep being a leader who can lead people of different backgrounds. But I did realize that putting that E actually did kind of hurt me a little bit because as bad as I want my people in a room, I also realize that proximity to people of other cultures also helps you get the things that you want. And in my ideal world, I would like for Hugh Capital to be a platform that has a very fair ratio of representation for people of all industries and cultures and etc. But because of how we started, it makes that goal a lot harder now for me.
But is that a bad thing?
It is a bad thing because unpopular opinion, creating something just for black people also limits the margins of your company. When you limit the margins of your company, you're also limiting how much you can access to make it better. And when I think about the real world just isn't all black, guys. I hate to say it, but it's not, right? When you go to work, you're not working with only black people. You work with probably people of different backgrounds and cultures. And if my goal is to set people up for success, for capital, or whatever the case may be, I want to know that I did it the right way. I want to know that I built something that's fair for everyone involved because it reminds me of what I was doing when I was at SA because I wasn't only catering to one group, I was catering to many. And I think I'm good at catering to any particular population. I take pride in it more when it's black, but it's like, I want that again. And I feel like I trapped myself a little bit.
Because for example, there's like the person who created the T app, and he was strategic about making it, cater to black people specifically, and it blew up.
No, that's not true.
You don't think so? Because
no. I'm telling you right now, that's not true. I'm not gonna lie. This is where we could remind people like black people really do drive culture for sure. Because I'm gonna tell you why that's true for sure. Because what you just said actually isn't true. The app was created by a white man, And he made the app because his mother was having a hard time dating, to the point that she found herself actually dating criminals. So he made this app where basically women, which actually started off mostly white women, would make profiles on the app and basically share their experiences with men to protect other women from dating those kinds of guys. But you would feel that way because it started trending in the black community. And when we get a hold of things, you gonna know we got a hold of it.
So I saw the post. Shout out to Roland Martin. He was basically saying that even like with the word T, it was meant to trigger.
Which is why I say culture, because if you look it up, it was a white man that
Yeah, it was a white man that made it. We know that.
App. The initial users were not black women right away, but once again, to your point, I think that black people in general, we have created a culture that is widespread and people feel attached to it, and they start leveraging some of that to increase the trendiness of what they're building.
Mhm.
And to your point, that's T. That's probably us. And he used it and it worked.
And then he also used a lot of imaging on the app that was
For
catering
sure.
to. So that's why I agree with what you're saying,
Yep.
but I think there's eventually always a twist and a turn when
that
it
gets
comes
back to us 100%.
So that's why I'm like, you could have kept the E in the U, and we could have just. But I understand when it comes to the business of growth and getting to the next level, that you have to make certain decisions to get you to a certain position. And I don't think that it hasn't hurt you by making that move. And I think when you explain it more, that Hugh Capital is abbreviated for not only for just human capital, but for all these other different dynamics, I think it also makes you a well-rounded candidate. And I like what you're about, and I like what you do. So what's the vision? I think we.
So to get back to the vision now. So long story short, Hugh Capital right now is, once again, this professional social network. It is this community first alternative to LinkedIn. What it does right now is, yes, you have an access to a feed. There is an access to a community group directory where you can ultimately find different professional groups that align with your interests. You can basically find it by industry, by skills that you have, by location, by culture, and etc. But most importantly, Huey is there to be like a chat GBT for career and business advice. So if you have questions about career pivoting or how to climb the corporate ladder or how to be an entrepreneur, Huey can answer those questions, and we train it on content that we think is very credible and useful. And you'll always be able to see how Huey is answering that question, meaning what it's sourcing. So there's a source section where you can click on links and further investigate Huey's responses to you. But most importantly, what's supposed to make us different is if we realize that people are having a hard time connecting on LinkedIn, I want to solve that problem first. Right now, at least, you can ask Huey a question like, can you recommend to me 5 engineers who are interested in AI, who are based in New York City, and it will scavenge the platform for people who fit that identity, and it will send you a link to their profile.
Beautiful.
That way, it's a lot easier to find exactly who you're looking for, who you want to create with, build with, etc. That's phase 1. Phase 2 or 3 or whatever the number is the ultimate goal is to actually have Huey make introductions on the platform. So you will basically prompt it and explain to it what kind of people you want to meet. And on a bi-weekly or monthly basis, depending on what subscription plan you end up on, it will literally throw you in a DM with another person, and it will literally tell the two of you why it's connecting you, why the two of you should do something together, and it will either offer you the opportunity to connect through a Google Meet or through email, or it will recommend in the later future places that you might want to meet in real life if it geographically permits. So in the platform, we ask for your zip code because if Huey can connect you with someone who's actually living near you or working near you, it makes it so much easier for you to meet in person.
I love that. I think that's so dope.
That's the now though. That's like from now to like September. Later on though, we're not only trying to be a B2C platform, B2C meaning company to people, but we're also trying to be B2B. A lot of people are trying to build communities online for their professional organizations. And if we realize that we built a very good solution for the growing Hugh Capital community, we can basically leverage this technology to help those other community organizers build communities of their own online as well. So we're creating it into a SaaS platform that people can also manage their groups on and their memberships on.
So it's basically like a meetup meets.
Like a meetup meets LinkedIn, or like a, if you know what School is, or Mighty
Yes.
Networks and all those tools, we're also in the near future trying to compete with those, because if we can build a proper solution for our own, people can leverage the same technology to do the same for their groups. People are also tired of having to force themselves to build community on Slack. Slack may be a comms tool, but it is not a community tool. It was not made for community. It was made for people who are employees of a company to get things done. And people have to forcibly make it into something it's not. They don't deserve to have to go through that. That's fine. Let me solve that.
You know what I'm excited about? I think you have a unique lane that you could take over, which is reworking a lot of these existing tools to
Mm-hmm.
fit us and community better. So
Mm-hmm.
I look at like Discord, how Discord was created for
Mm-hmm.
video gamers and
Gamers.
stuff like that, and how you could be able to create your own version of a
Mm-hmm.
Discord, or on a larger scale when you could be competing with Meta,
Yep.
or even like you talked about Capital. I was thinking like, all right, how do we make Hugh Capital be something like a uh, private equity type of.
People thought we were that too. Mm-hmm.
So I thought, like, I'm thinking all these different ideas when I hear this, and I think, if there's anybody who can make this happen, I definitely believe it's you.
Well, fun fact, a lot of giant tech companies, like companies that are unicorns where they're worth at least $1 billion, a lot of them have like investment arms. And a goal of mine is, if we were ever fortunate to become a unicorn company, I would love for us to be able to have something that can invest in the projects and businesses that people are creating. And how I prep for that right now is I also created a nonprofit arm. So I have a 501c3. It's called the Desmond Fontaine Foundation. It is named after my bestie, which is my dad. And the goal of it is to basically provide financial wellness and ultimate like social opportunities for people. And what we do is we like launch a series of micro grants through it. So we're not, rich yet. So we only have so much to give, but occasionally what we do is we take some proceeds from our event sales and we launch like $1,000 or $1,500 grants to the community.
I think that's amazing. I love the fact that you have a nonprofit arm. I think that speaks to just your investment in community and just how you have been so intentional about giving and being a giver. Were you always like this?
Yes, I've always been extremely giving, to the point though that I can now say I'm probably a little less giving than I used to be. Because to give means to like kind of exhaust sometimes, and you're either exhausting your energy or you're exhausting your money. And right now I'm in a space where like I have to be a lot more selfish because my time is very limited and my resources are very limited, because when you're building something and you're building it full time, you're always like on edge. You always feel cash strapped. I'm just being honest with y'all. Depends on how you're building. If you're working a job 9 to 5 and you're building, that's a little different. But if you're just kind of building the thing only, you often feel like you're on edge. So I can say that I've always been somebody who's very giving, but I can say that as of the last 2 years, I can transparently say I've been a little less giving of my free time
Hmm.
and my resources. Obviously, Hugh Capital is the extension of me and it does that. But outside of that, I've been a little bit more like, I'm willing to start accepting now. Like, I've always had a hard time taking help from people, whether it's money or just people wanting to help me, because I always felt like my role in life was to be the doer and be the giver. But I have really good friends, and they have definitely challenged me to realize that as much as you give, it's okay to take. And that was really hard for me, because when I do things for people, I don't expect things right back. But I can be honest and say that I, not about everybody, but I kind of felt like sometimes taking something from someone would mean that if they ask me for something tomorrow, I have to say yes. And I don't like that feeling.
That becomes
Yeah,
transactional.
I don't like that. I don't like that feeling where it's like, because someone did something, I gotta go and do it right back for them. So I rather just be the giver, and that's fine, but just less of the taking. So that if I have to say no, I can say no. But at that time, before 2023, I was a yes woman. I'm saying yes to, if you need my help and I have a second, even if I don't, I'll find it. I'm a help. But I can say that kind of changed recently, because your girl's burnt out a little bit. Yeah.
I hear the
But
growth.
but one more thing I can say though, even though I'm more on my selfish side now because of the era that I'm in, I will say that sadly, burning myself out for being a yes woman to everyone actually did help me in the long run because me supporting so many people, I guess because I've never asked them for anything, when I really did need to ask for help, aka fundraising for the platform, a lot of people showed up. And they showed up because they were grateful for things that I've done in the past. So sometimes being selfless for a long streak up until burnout probably does help you, but I don't know if I recommend.
So speaking about burnout, how have you been able to maintain your mental health, take care of your mental health, take care of yourself?
Oh my God, I have the worst answer in the world for y'all. As somebody who has a whole men's wellness fair and I want people to be well and all those things, I cannot say that I have the best wellness practices. I am tired. I am exhausted. I have a hard time falling asleep. I probably get on average 5 hours of sleep a night with some one offs where I do get the 8 hours. But I also realize that this doesn't have to be the case forever. I also realize that sometimes this is what you do for a period of time, but I would never want it or expect for it to be something that I do indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say on a wellness streak is while we always think that wellness is the gym or getting your 10K steps in, your wellness is also mental. And I think that what kind of outweighs the physical exhaustion for me is the fact that I really am excited and happy about everything that I'm doing. I feel like I'm very privileged to have the family that I have, to have the friends that I have, and to have a community of supporters that I have. I think that so many amazing things and people are around me. So even though sometimes and on occasion I'm kind of draining myself into the ground, I do feel like there's so many more good things to look at, and that keeps me overall well. And then I also realize I have to take moments where I do have to step back and just chill. Like my team presses me. They will literally beg me, take a weekend off. So when you have a team of people that want to see you have a moment off to yourself, you also feel pretty good about that. So that's what keeps me well, but I can't say that physically I always do the best job in terms of getting sleep and going to the gym enough. Sometimes being an entrepreneur causes weight gain because you're always at your desk and you're not really making time to take care of yourself. Sometimes you become a snacker. It sounds really bad, y'all. It's like the most pessimistic thing you'll ever hear me say, but I just like to be very
It's
honest
real. It's definitely real.
that it doesn't wellness doesn't always look like you have it all together all the time. Sometimes you have it together most of the time, and there's gonna be moments in sprints where you're gonna take a hit. But just remember that you shouldn't make that hit permanent. You should try to like time box it and try to find a way to still give yourself back that time to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think just out of respect for your time, my final question is, how can I be of a resource to you? How can I be of an asset to you? Because like I said, I feel like in the short period of time that we've known each other, you've given so much, not only to myself but to the community that you serve. And how could I, give to you?
I would say how you can give to me and anybody else who's listening. Listen, spread the word. Like wherever you go, if you meet people and they want to be something, and when I say want to be something, I don't believe in elitist culture.
Uh-uh.
I don't believe in culture where the only people you invite into professional spaces are people who are doing already well. That's not what it's only for, right? You want to also be able to create spaces that propel people forward. So
Mm-hmm.
if you know anybody who wants to be great or is already doing great or wants to be greater, name drop Q Capital Co on Instagram and TikTok, QCapital.co on the internet. Join the wait list. Tell people to join the wait list. But please, 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 wherever you go, just name drop us and help us get our brand up because we're competing with giants. We're trying to compete or enter a space where there are billion-dollar companies doing things similar to what we're doing, but they're not doing it as great as we know we can. And sometimes word of mouth is the biggest way to propel us forward.
I'm excited to see when you start doing events in Brooklyn. Cause I think that
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
because I'll be honest, I think you doing events in Manhattan, it fits what you do because all the people coming from work, it's a professional
yeah.
environment. But I just also understand like in Brooklyn, this black community
Oh, for sure. Strong. Oh,
strong.
it's so strong. Okay, here's actually why I don't really do events in Brooklyn. Because if you think about it, right, downtown Brooklyn is like an extension of Manhattan. So we could do events in Brooklyn. I'm from the Bronx, y'all. Like, Brooklyn is a little bit out of the way for Bronx people, and I don't ever want to be in a space where, the community that I literally grew up in, they can't access what we're building because we're all the way in Brooklyn on a weekday evening. That could be like a 2-hour train ride for someone uptown. I'm gonna feel bad.
So I'm from Staten Island.
But you're closer to Brooklyn, though.
Okay, if I drive.
For sure.
If I don't drive, you feel me?
Yeah.
And it's still a trip to come to the hall, to uptown
For sure.
or midtown. But I get it. I think working in the city.
I can't betray them like that.
Nah, I feel like you are doing exactly what God has has in store for you to do. And I feel like at the end of the day, trust your God, because at this point it's taking you so far and you have done so much with it. Like I said, and you also are a master of timing, I feel like. And you're not afraid to I feel like you're not afraid to go above and beyond when it comes to like maximizing the resources that you're given. So you're impressive, mamas.
I try. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the people? Anything that we should look out for coming up in the near future?
Well, one of the first things first, shout outs to Cletus for even having this podcast and inviting people like myself on it. Because a lot of people like myself, we have stories to tell, right? We're all building really cool things, and having people who are leaders in the community invite us to platforms like this where we can share this stuff, that's very meaningful. To the point that I can share it with a blanket on my lap. That's pretty lit. I don't get to end up in a lot of spaces like that. So
cozy.
I'm very comfortable to be in a cozy setting where I can talk about my professional journey, and that's thanks to you. The only thing I would probably just leave off with is, if you want to do something, just do it. It's never going to be the right time. You're never going to have enough money or the right amount of money to do it. Like, you're never going to ever feel like you have everything that you need to build the thing that you want. And for that reason, you should just build it. Build it with what you have. As you grow, more resources will be attracted, and it will continue to grow with you, and as the vision expands as well. But stop talking yourself out of creating the things that you want to create. I promise you're meant to do it.
I love that. And I think that's a perfect place to end. If you want to follow you, connect with you, do you have any like classes, courses?
Yes. I'm actually gonna do some AI workshops this month or next month, August. We have Hugh Capital Innovation Week coming up in October, where we're gonna have industry dedicated days where people, let's say for example, on a Monday in media, can learn how to use AI to solve problems in their industry. On a Tuesday could be healthcare, using AI to solve problems in their industry. In November, on the 15th, we have a wellness fair called Men Deserve Flowers. It's a free event because men typically pay for everything. So, we got y'all. It's a free fair where men come out and talk about their financial, mental, and everything wellness, right? We have panels, workshops, fitness activities, vendors, and more, all dedicated to the community and trying to find ways to uplift men, not just as professionals, but as people. And yeah.
I think you're amazing. And
I try, man. I try.
I think everyone who's listening is gonna agree with me when I say that you are favored and ordained for greatness. Like I said, y'all tuned into World The Talk Ain't Cheap. Y'all know the slogan, it's not that deep, it's a vibe. Thank you to Juju. Make sure y'all follow Hugh Capital. Make sure you support Juju. Come to her Hugh Lane events. Also, Hugh Match is amazing. I don't think a lot of people talk about Hugh Matched enough.
Don't.
That's how I met Ryan McBride. Shout out to Ryan McBride.
But through Hugh Matched?
Through Hugh Matched.
Wait, stop it. What? Okay, wait. I know we gotta go, but y'all, this is why people who throw events ask y'all to please fill out the event feedback surveys, because we be looking for stories like this, but we can't find it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And like I said, you're tuned in Talking Cheap. Y'all know the slogan, it's not that deep. It's a vibe.